Hi there, Rhonda without an H back with you, continuing in our paper bag series. Today we're going to be making some pockets. Here's a finished page that I have. I've got 2 spots for tags, and you can make them with more, of course. Here's a little spot for a tag or letter or whatever, and here's another spot. And depending on how you attach this to your journal page, here, let me move that out of the way. Then I can also have a tuck spot behind. So this is super fun, super easy. You guys are just going to be like, and it's not my idea. It's not my idea. I have embellished a little bit more, but this is a take on Crafty Irina's video on these pockets. So I have to give her credit. I'm excited to do so. All right. So basically, what she shows you to do, and let's go ahead and just do this together. Oh, look at this. Isn't this cool? I got this, there's a College Serpa store where I live, and one day a week you can go there for a few hours and just pick through different things and buy things cheaply, and their books are like 50 cents a piece. And so it's this diagram book that's full of diagrams for ceramists. Is that people who do ceramics? I honestly don't know. But it has all these cool diagrams. So, all right. So what she shows in her video to do a pocket is just very simply, you're going to fold your page in half lengthwise. And then you're going to fold it in half widthwise. Easy, right? And I'm just doing a little bit of, with my bone folder, just burnishing it just a little bit. And then you take this inside. This is going to be a flap, and this is going to be a flap. So we're going to fold this inside one first, and see, I'm just using this line, and if you're using a dictionary, you've got all those, or just a regular book, you've got, you know, the words are in line. So you just try to line it up so that it's square. So, and if you want to double check, then it's like, okay, that's going to be the inside flap. And then this flap, you fold in a little bit more. She didn't really say, and I've just been kind of playing with it, but so you can fold you can have as little space in between your pockets, or you can have quite a bit of space in between your pockets. And for decorating purposes, I think I will go with, let's see, did we line that up quite? I'm going to go with a little wider flap. So if I want to, for instance, put some lace and different things that way, then it has a place for it to go. All right? Okay, so this is the basic how-to, and then of course I do the mixed media, and so that's what I teach, is with combining these delicious fabrics and papers together. Remember, we're marrying these guys, and so I will stitch, but before I want to stitch my pocket down or add it to my page, I want to embellish it. So this is just my thought. You can do whatever you feel to do, but just in case you want some ideas. When I was in the process of doing this, I found it helpful, for instance, on those little parts that may show, I just put just a tiny little mark. I just did a small little X that if I decide not to cover those spots, I'll be fine. I'll be able to just erase that and you won't see that. But I wanted to make sure that when I embellished that I wasn't embellishing the wrong side of something. So, and here's another thought, just a little something for you to consider in this process. Here's a flap, and if you stitch this on this side and this side down, you can have another pocket here. I said flap, but they are a flap, but it also creates a pocket. So you can have 3 pockets, but you can also, if your paper is heavy enough, this is pretty sturdy paper right here, but some of your dictionary pages and some of your other pages that are a little more lightweight, then I wouldn't recommend it. But if it is to where you can also, because of these two, see, normally these would just be together to give it strength, but I could also, if I wanted, I could fold this into a 3rd pocket, and I could fold this one so that it would line up. Do you see? It would line up here and here, and this is heavy enough on its own that it would be fine that way. So I could have 3 or 4 pockets, and I could also stitch so that here's a tuck spot. If I want to, I can leave that open for a tuck spot. So there are lots of possibilities with this. But for this video, I'm not going to do this extra pocket. I just want to focus on a couple of these things. Now I'm going to bring this in to show you again. Here's that front flap area, and this is fabric, guys. See, we're marrying the paper with the fabric. And so I've got laces, just little bits. Let me actually, just a second. I'm going to take a chance on this. Are you guys ready? Oh no! Look at her mess! I have this container that I think I'm going to use up, and then it just seems like I take a little out and I put a little in. Take a little out, put a little in. So, I don't know, it just always seems to be big this way. But I will just use little snippets, little extras from other projects or that I've just had that are small enough that I stuff in here. So I'm going to take some things from here to make embellish my little flaps on my pockets. Here I have done a little bit of lace. I have zigzagged. I have stitched on my fabric. I have glued, actually I stitched around the edge, but I glued these on. These are all stitched, these little snippets of fabric and lace. These are, oh, and speaking of, I need to do just a tiny little X here as well, because this is an area that I'm going to embellish. That gives me the areas. I made a paper ruffle, and I've got a video on that I just showed you the other day that I added to this, and I zigzagged here a little tiny strip of fabric on there. It gives color, It gives texture. It just makes the pocket interesting. And then when I was done with the embellishing, then I went, I did a corner rounder and I cut my little, I used that on the edge here. And then I used Tim Holtz, one of his inks, and distressed it just a little bit, giving it some aging. That's kind of fun, depending on the look that you're going, for your journal. Keep in mind, as I've mentioned before, if you work with a theme and you have an idea of what you want, then it makes it so much easier to do things like this. I can decide, well, I want to have a little kitty, or I want to have a butterfly somewhere here, or maybe with one of my tags. Then I can add that and add to the theme so that it makes it richer and more cohesive, and it's a lot of fun to do. Okay, so I am going to gather some of my bits, pieces of lace and fabric and such, and when I get those gathered together, I'll be back. We'll talk about them, and then I'm going to do some stitching. Well, what I have got so far, I kind of like, but this isn't necessarily a complete finished picture. Now, what I want you to pay attention to here, notice my page that I made the pockets out of. It's fairly cream. It's quite light in color, as opposed to this dictionary page. And for this brown paper bag series, I just like the look of this a little bit more toned down. Okay, now this is just personal. There's no rule that says you got to tone it down. If you want that contrast, then that's perfect, great. So what I'm going to do, I've been kind of playing with bringing out a few little bits and pieces from that little tub that I showed you earlier that I kind of like. So this is kind of what I think I might do on mine. And before I stitch anything down to the paper, I'm actually going to take a sponge and my stamp pad, and I'm going to go around the edges and tone it down just a little bit, age it just a little bit with my Tim Holtz. I can't even remember the color that I've got out now. I use various ones. I'll just grab what's there. And then I'm going to start my stitching. The reason I'll do the toning down, if I want to age it first, is it's just simply easier. It's a lot easier to be able to unfold this whole thing and give that fun aged look before I stitch. Because once you start stitching, then you are limited, as to what you can do. And keeping in mind, I am trying to bring as much texture with my fabrics, embellishments, that type of thing as possible. Because my whole pocket is paper, I want to try to bring in that fabric as much as I can to add to it so that they're married. Oh goodness. And I will probably add as well, I had printed out on some paper some butterflies, and I haven't fussy cut anything yet, but I will go through and maybe pick out a butterfly or two to add to this as well. So I'm going to go ahead now, do my aging. I'm not going to show that, and I am not set up to where I can show you my stitching either, but you're familiar with that process. Oh, I was going to give you a tip, another tip. Oh, senior moment. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. I'm just going to take this all off now, just so that it's easier to explain this part. When you are stitching, your embellishments, your fabrics, your textures, your yarns, your laces, those kinds of things on. Unfold and do so that you don't stitch down through layers that you didn't want. You didn't want your pockets. If you're not careful, for instance, if I went ahead this way and I stitched some embellishments here and here, well, I've stitched my pocket closed. So I only have one pocket, okay? So you want to go down bare bones, and this is where those little X's come in, those tiny little X's, because that tells me that I'm embellishing this and I'm embellishing this. None of that, at least for the moment. So, and if I want a tuck spot here, then I also have to keep my stitching to kind of around the edge and do a little bit of gluing in the center here if I want that tuck spot. If I don't want a tuck spot, then it doesn't matter. I can go ahead and stitch to my heart's content. Okay? I just wanted to share that. And then here's another pocket. So here, this is the only part that will be embellished. This will not show. Okay? And then, if we fold it up, there again. There's that tiny little X, and this little area is the only thing that's going to show here. So, just save yourself some time and frustration as you're embellishing and stitching. All right, I will be back, guys, as soon as I get that done. Well, I think I have just about finished my pocket. I have not stitched the sides up yet. I'm waiting to decide how I'm going to put it on my page. I'll probably put some fabric down here and stitch this on. But I'm quite happy with this. I added a few other things than what I had showed you. I did put a little bit of yarn that I zigzagged on there. Kind of looks like a snake, really. And I have stitched everything down. I decided for this one I wasn't going to worry about trying to use this front flap as a tuck spot. So I stitched things on here. This is netting, you know, that you buy for, they use a lot in weddings and such. This zigzagged or just ruffled a little bit. It's wonderful and super, super cheap to use for embellishments. Anyway, so I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, and I will come back when I have finished this page and let you see what else that I did with this. And then, of course, I've got the other side to decorate. Just a reminder how we're doing that, how if you want to. Okay, I am back. I have finished my page, and I really like it. I hope you do too. So what I've done, let me just take my tags out. I have a tag in this spot, and another one here, and then another one in the back here. So as you can see, I put a piece of my lace table runner that I've been using. I stitched that down, and then I added a little strip of fabric here. I ruffled some ribbon and put that on. I embellished, of course, and I like how this turned out. I didn't leave myself really, I stitched down, so there, I suppose you might could put a little something in there, but I wasn't worried about that. I was just focusing on the pockets. So I just put it together. I had fun doing it. I hope that you will make some wonderful pockets, embellish, decorate, continue to work on your brown paper bags. It's just a lot of fun. And until the next time, have a fabulous day. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it. Bye now.